Welcome to Mad Marketing TV. My name is Jeff Ogden, the host of the show, and we're really excited about today's guest. Not only is it another great marketing expert coming on the show, but we actually have the God of Thunder, Thor Johnson. Let's meet Thor. What we're going to talk about today with Thor are marketing automation fundamentals. What we're going to talk about with Thor are topics like getting started with marketing automation, how and why to keep it simple, some tools to trade, and some really down-to-earth, common-sense advice about demand generation. So this should be a great show. Let's welcome Thor to the show.
Hey, Jeff. Pleasure. Thanks. Good to be here.
Good to have you here. I remember you back with Eloqua. I've known you for years and years, so it's really good to finally have you on the show.
No, it's fun watching the industry grow up.
Yeah, the industry really has grown up. In fact, I think that's a good first question, and something we should start with, Thor, is you've spent a lot of time in the marketing automation space. There's a lot happening in the space. What's your interpretation of what's going on?
Yeah, it's a fun industry to be in, Jeff. I'm really seeing two big developments. One is just the market's getting bigger. People are understanding demand generation. For example, in my business, I'm seeing lots of heavy manufacturers now getting into demand generation. It's a different profile from before in that for many of these companies, they're only using a CRM or a sales automation solution for a year or two, and then marketing automation is coming right behind that. And that's a new development in the industry. And one of the outcomes of that is there are some very good entry-level solutions coming in on the marketing automation side. HubSpot is one that has received a lot of attention. Marketo recently announced the Spark product, and Acton, who's the sponsor of this show, is a very credible offering as a first step and maybe a long-term step into marketing automation. I like all the activity at the entry-level end of the marketplace.
So Thor, that was an interesting discussion about trends in the industry, and you know, I find it very interesting about what you said about companies like Old Line Manufacturing getting into marketing automation, because it really shows it's hit the mainstream, and it's not just the high-tech companies and software and those kinds of things anymore. So with that said, you know, and more people are getting into it, how do you advise those companies? What's the best way to get started with marketing automation?
Well, it's funny. I give the same advice to companies who are just getting started with marketing automation as I give to companies who are in the soup. You know, I see two kinds of people who are in trouble and really are trying to regain control of marketing automation, and folks like you mentioned who are just getting started. And rule number one is to keep it simple. The danger that marketers always face, because you're in the middle of the company, because everyone's pounding on the marketer, is to be really clear about what you can do and what you can't do and keep it very simple. Second one is to show results when you're getting started. Run a campaign, develop some leads, document those leads so that people can see that activity is happening. And start there. People get lost in detail very quickly and start jumping way down, for example, a lead scoring path and try to come up with a big lead scoring solution in marketing automation. And they just lose sight of the goal, which is to show results and to not lose their minds while they're doing it. So it's really a common sense approach to starting anything. You have to demonstrate that what you're doing is actually creating some action, and you have to do it so that it finishes and so that people can see completion. And if you can do that with marketing automation, folks will give you a breather, which is when you can then take the deep breath and not so much start doing it right, but you can take the deep breath and really build and start executing the plan. I advise people before they buy marketing automation to build your plan first, and to get your sales team on board, or as much as on board as you can first, before you build your marketing automation tool. But once you've got it, you've just spent some money, and everyone's going to be looking at you for some results. So you really have to show it, which means focusing on those results. That's really where I like to start with people.
So Thor, those were some good insights on how to get started, and you know, starting simply and getting some results and not boiling the ocean and everything. That's great advice. One other thing I want to ask you about, a lot of people I see choose marketing automation technology as a panacea. You know, that's like, I take this pill and it'll make me better. You know, and I think you and I both share some thoughts about the proper role of technology. Can you kind of share what your philosophies are, Thor?
Yeah, it's a good question, Jeff, and that's one of the big issues in the industry. I saw this in my previous years when I was marketing at Eloqua. We would tell our customers that if they bought our product, they would instantly become good marketers. And I think that was good marketing to say that, but it's really not true. If you buy a marketing automation solution, you will be an owner of a marketing automation solution. And now you have to figure out how to market with it. It really comes down to organization. In the work that I've been doing as Team Thor Marketing, I have never seen a marketing automation failure due to technology. It's always been to organization, people not talking to each other. First things first, make sure marketers are talking to salespeople. If there is not a good set of communications between marketing and salespeople, marketing automation doesn't work. And everyone says this, but actually overcoming the barriers between marketing and sales are enormous. In a longer session, maybe we can talk about some of the tactics that marketers can use to get salespeople to pay attention and help figure out what the marketing to sales and then back to marketing lead flow should look like. But getting that right, or at least getting it started before you get your marketing automation in place, before you build your tools and buy your technology, is the fundamental step. The other one, and it's still organizational, is that you are now in a process that has to be measured, and you're going to be reporting things to other people in the company. And who's the best person in the company for reporting numbers? It's your finance department. It's your CFO. It's your chief finance person. They have instant credibility. A marketer can spout numbers all week, but when the finance person spouts the same numbers, everyone will believe them. So making friends with salespeople and building a process that might possibly work when automated, and working with your financial people to figure out what needs to be measured here and how are we going to report these numbers will keep you credible and will keep you talking the business talk in your company and not getting lost down in leads and impressions and page views and all of the marketing jargon, which I think degrades the marketer's viewpoint in front of the rest of the company. So it's all organizational, and that's why get some of your organizational pieces in place. Build your plan first. Don't boil the ocean, as you say, Jeff, then buy your technology. Put that in place, and by then you'll have a bunch of understandings in place that will give you a good chance of being successful.
Thor, that was absolutely great advice. And, it's funny. I was talking with Pete Kranick, who is the founder of the CMO Club. So he deals with CMOs every day. And he said something very similar to me. He said, you're at a meeting of the board, right? And you're the CMO of a company, and you say something. It's taken with a grain of salt. But if your CFO says it, it's gospel. And you just said, get your finance folks on board. And that echoes the exact same thing. Great information. And thank you for being on the show, Thor.